What's up, tribe? How you guys doing this evening? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be my review for Love Is Season 1, Episode 2. Okay, first of all, I want to say shout out to Robert Townsend, who directed this episode. And I love me some Robert Townsend. And again, we talking about throwing back to the 90s, so you might as well bring Robert Townsend back too, boo, right? Um, I enjoyed this episode. However, I am not a love at first sight kind of person. I believe in infatuation at first sight. So in this episode, they kept throwing this "I love you" back and forth at each other. And every time they did it, I just wanted to be like, ugh. Because I don't believe you fall in love with somebody at first sight. I don't believe you fall in love with somebody after one conversation. But that's me. That's my own hang up. But I still like the episode, and I still and remember, it's based on a true story. So this is someone's real love story, and they believe that they fell in love that first night. So who am I to question it? Because fast forward 30 years and they're still together, so maybe they did fall in love, right? So we left off last week at the end of the episode where Nori and Yasir had spent the night together. He went back home. Ruby told him he needed to find somewhere else to go. Okay. Well, remember, Yasir is Muslim, and it is Ramadan. And so he sort of used his morning prayer to avoid talking to her or to avoid actually leaving the house. And then when she got home that night, he faked being asleep. So he's like, I mean, it's one of those things where she told him to get out, but he doesn't have anywhere to go. So he's sort of parlaying, stretching out his time until he can find somewhere. He asked his boy, can I move in with you? Boy was like, he was like, can I get your couch? His boy was like, yo, I'm on the couch myself. Like, I'm in the doghouse, so I don't really have nowhere for you to go right now, And he did call Nori once, and they had sort of, she was half asleep, so they didn't really get a chance to talk. And then he called her back, and they were having this really great conversation, which I'll get back to what they were talking about. And Ruby comes home, and so he has to hurry up and get off the phone because, of course, he already pretending like, he sleep and all this other stuff. The last thing he need is for Ruby to roll in there, and he on the phone with Nori, right? Okay, so rewind a little bit. This whole episode takes place in the 2 days between her trying to give him the tickets back for the concert and the actual concert. Because to them, the concert is their first date. Although I would say the night at the coffee house was their first date, but again, not my story. She goes to work. Remember, she works on a sitcom. So they have a taping the night, probably I guess the next day. They have a taping. And the taping went really well. And the star of the show, again, and I meant to look this up, y'all. Again, she was working on a sitcom, and I really think it was Martin. But either way, it's a black show that she works on. The main character, his name is Marvin. And they get to the end of the taping, and he was like, yo, who wrote me those prison jokes? Like, those jokes were I really, they were good. Like, who was it? Who's your writer? Because remember, Kadeem Hardison plays the head writer. So Marvin is talking, the guy that plays Marvin is talking to Kadeem Hardison, like, yo, who wrote me those jokes? Those jokes were a hit. I really like that. I like the person. I like the way they wrote it. I like the direction they're taking my character in. Who is it? And Kadeem Hardison said, yo, that's my, he was calling her Padawan, his Padawan. That's my young Padawan, He was like, look, bring her tonight. Well, he said him because he assumed it was a he. Bring him tonight to George's, and, I want to meet him. So Kadeem, he goes to Nori. He's like, look, what are you doing tonight? And she was, before she could finish, she was like, doesn't even matter. You meet me at George's tonight. Tell him you want Marvin's table. We'll see you there. He wants to meet you. So she's telling Yuri about, Yasir about this night. She's telling him about everything that happened. And George's is like the hot spot of Black Hollywood. He was like, what? You would at George's? That's like, that's like Black Hollywood. She was like, yeah, I saw Denzel, and And she has this great night. You know what I mean? She's at the table. She's there. He knows her name. He knows her face. He's talking to her about his character and like all of this stuff. And she's, she's excited. She's telling him about her wonderful day and this great breakthrough she had at her job. And that's when Ruby walks in and he got to hurry up and get off the phone. So I got ahead of myself. But the other thing was later on that night, it was just her and Kadeem. And he said, so this was a good night for you. He said it's a little bit of sweet because he knows who you are and he's expecting great things. And then he said he knows who you are and he's expecting great things. Like, that's the good and that's the bad. He said because the minute you don't deliver, you're going to be back on the outside of this restaurant trying to get a table, right? Trying to get back in. And as she's leaving, the dude that her church guy, remember, Nori got a list, right? So as she's leaving, the church guy is standing at the maitre d's desk trying to talk his way in. And he sees her coming out and he's like, yo, how did you get in? And she was like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean, how did I get in? But they get to talking, and of course he's trying to, he's flirting with her, whatever. And then she runs into the other dude from the job. I don't know why he was there, but the runner, the guy that gets their lunches and stuff like that, the guy that her mother caught her in bed with last week. And he straight up like, look, so what's up with us? Like, what's going on with us? And she was like, you turned something that was supposed to be fun into something serious. Like, I just, like, I'm not trying to have a relationship with you. It was just fun. Like, I thought you understood that's what it was. And his feelings are hurt. And she kind of leaves him, standing there. And his feelings are hurt. So, I don't know why I don't know why I keep yawning. I mean, anyway. The obvious answer would be because I'm tired, but I'm really not. Neither here nor there. So, then we see Ruby. Now, Ruby is playing the game that women play, right? You were mad at him. You asked him to leave. But now you kind of don't mean it anymore. But you want to prove that you can get him back, quote unquote, get him back. And so she's playing games. So she says to him, I need a favor from you. And of course, he's not really in a position to turn her down because he's still trying to really keep his spot on the couch. So he's like, what do you need? She said, well, I have a meeting with a potential business partner. My friend, whoever, she's getting ready to open up a studio and, she wants me to run the yoga side because remember she's a yoga instructor. She wants me to run the yoga side, but I know I'm not the only person she's talking to about this. But she likes you. And he was like, no, she wants to have sex with me. She was like, yeah, she likes you. So can you go out to dinner with us? He was like, so you want to pimp me out? Like it's cool for women to find me attractive and want to sleep with me when it's convenient for you. But anyway, so she was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, that's what I need. I need you to be there. I need you to flirt with her. I need her to, think that if she keeps me around, that's going to give her access to you. That's basically where she's coming from. So he was like, sure, I'll do it. No problem. But the night of the dinner is the night of the concert. And I don't think that's an accident. I think Ruby purposely was planning this to be the night of the concert. And he was like, that's the night. And mind you, he invited her to the concert first. So again, you had an opportunity to go. You didn't want to go. So he was like, I can't do it. I got to go to I'm going to the concert. And she was like, really? Like, come on. Like, I need you. And he said, I tell you what, I can come through and have drinks, but I can't stay for dinner. I can, I'll use Ramadan as an excuse that I can't eat. I'm fasting. And she was like, well, if you're going to break fast, you wouldn't be drinking either. He was like, look, that's the best I can do. I can come and have drinks with you. I can't do dinner. That's what I can do for you. And she was like, all right, fine. So then he's getting ready to leave. So she says, You have a few minutes, and he was like, not really. She's like, well, look, I need you to help me pick out my outfit. You always know the best outfits, for me to wear. That's when I was like, yeah, she run a game. That's when I knew she was running a game. Like before that, I was thinking it, but then I knew it. I done played them games, boo. I know what you doing. I done it. So he comes into the bedroom. She's getting undressed. She's half naked. She's purposely doing things to try and turn him on, right? She's putting on probably the sexiest, slinkiest dresses that she owns. She's all bending over in front of him, flirting around in the dress and all that, trying to get his attention. And I guess when he doesn't make a move, then she just comes straight up and starts trying to undress him. She was like, well, what are you going to wear? Try on what you're going to wear. And he stops her and he's like, look, I can't. He was like, you're right. I think it's time for me to leave. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I don't know if it's love, but I do know that he does feel that Nori is important to him, because he could have very easily slept with that woman to get back in good, to keep his spot in the house. And Nori, number one, would have never had to know. And number two, couldn't really be mad about it, because they weren't like a couple, you know what I mean? Even though they were telling each other they loved each other and all of that other stuff. But neither here nor there. So I was like, okay, he has some integrity about him, because at that point he's sleeping in his car. Because he'd already called his boy, and his boy was like, look, I'm sorry, I don't have nowhere for you to stay. He had no money. And that was really his only friend, Ruby, and this dude, I keep forgetting his name. Those were really his only friends in LA. Remember, he had just moved down from San Francisco. Well, Oakland. So that's where they are with that. Nori, on the other hand, she goes to work. Come to find out, Marvin, the guy that plays Marvin, has been asked to host the Source Awards. I thought that was going to mean that they had to write the jokes for the show. But what it meant was they had to push the taping of the show up so he could get and go do the show. So, of course, the taping of the show is going to be the night of the concert. So now we have all these forces working against them, that they're not going to be able to go to the concert. Well, on top of that, remember, we in the 90s, ain't no cell phones and no easy access to people like we have now. If you call somebody and they weren't home, you just left a message. And you called their job, and if they weren't available, you left a message. Now, we did have this wonderful modern technology called a pager. But here's the thing about a pager. If you didn't pay the bill, it didn't work. And Yasir had a pager, but he hadn't paid the bill. And the other thing about the pagers, which wasn't necessarily true, if I remember correctly. Okay, yeah. It wasn't necessarily true. Something they put in the show wasn't necessarily true, but I'm going to let it go for the purposes of the show. But if your pager got cut off, the numbers you had in your pager was still in your pager. You locked it. You could lock the... Look, I'm doing it just like a pager. But you could lock the number in your pager. The number, it didn't wipe your pager. And as long as you had a battery, you could turn the pager on. So there was a... So anyway, all right. I'm getting ahead of myself again. I'm sorry, y'all. So they're playing phone tag at this point. Yasir's trying to call her at work or call her at home. And he can't get her because... He can't get her at work because old boy that gets the lunches and stuff, he also works the phones, and he ain't giving her her messages purposely. Well, she's not calling that house, because even though Yasir told her that's his roommate, she ain't totally crazy. She know that ain't really real. Like, she knows that situation is probably some fugazi, right? But she's trying to page him. Page is not working because he ain't paid the bill. Page is not on. He's living in his car. He got a payphone. Yep, payphones existed too. He's calling her from this payphone. And the one time that she does actually call him back, where she does actually get one of her messages and calls him back, he's preparing to do his evening prayer, and he doesn't hear the phone ringing. He's in the parking lot, but he doesn't hear the cell phone. He doesn't hear the payphone ringing. So anyway, they're just playing phone tag. Like, they can't get in touch with each other, because guess what? That's what life was like before cell phones, and we had it on our hip 24 hours a day, and people just had 24-hour access to you. So she's trying to let him know, look, I probably can't make it to the show because I have to work. And he's trying to get in touch with her to say, look, I probably can't make it to the show because he don't even know he's going to be able to take a shower, right? But I don't, well, no, I'll take that back. I don't think his intention was to ever really not go to the concert. He just felt like he just had to talk to her. You know, they just had this need to want to, which is, that's what you, when you met somebody, you wanted to talk to them all the time, especially if you had that deep connection, because then you start doubting, was it all a dream? Was it a joke? Was it a fluke? Was I just something to do to that other person? Like all those things they're going through all of these emotions. Well, you see his boy actually catches him living in his car. And he was like, dude, why didn't you tell me what was going on? He was like, I called you. He said, yeah, but you ain't had no sense of urgency behind it. You know, like, you ain't tell me you really meant it. I did tell you. Because he was even like, let me get your gym card so I have somewhere to take a shower. Like, I kind of thought that let you know it was sort of serious. But dude is off the couch, so he can kind of give Yasir somewhere to stay. You know, he fed him and all that good stuff. And so he's telling him, look, man, sell this ticket. That'll give you at least a little bit of money in your pocket. You know, he was like, it's a sold out show. Everybody wants a ticket. He said, because the other two, the dude and his girlfriend were actually the other couple that was going to the show. He was like, that's what we did. We sold the tickets for 3 times what we paid for them. That's how he said. That's why I was buying steak tonight when I caught your butt in the parking lot of the grocery store. He said, I can't do it. He was like, I know she's going to be there. I can't. Like, I know she's going to be there. Because his thing is, if all else fails, I know she's going to be at that show. I can't get her on the phone. I can't get in touch with her. But I know she's going to be at that show. Okay. Now, on Nori's end, this is a make or break night for her at work. Like, she's already on the radar of the star of the show. Her head writer she's on the head writer's radar because he sees the talent in her, but he also knows that she's on the star's radar. So it's like, okay, you know, I'm gonna take credit for you because you're doing good right now, but if you fuck up, I'm putting you over on the sideline. And they're taping the show. So the writers have to be there. Like, it's not an option for them not to be there when there's a taping of a show going on. So she's like, and her friend is telling her friend is like, look, you're not going to throw this opportunity away. You can't throw this good job away chasing behind. I wrote it down because it was a good line. She said, don't be a desperate dummy chasing after stupid. I said I had to write that one down because that was a good one. I like it. Don't be a desperate dummy chasing after stupid. Let me tell y'all something. I have been both. I have been the desperate dummy chasing after stupid, and I have been the stupid that the desperate dummy was chasing after. Okay? So I know. And her girl was being raw and unfiltered, but her girl was telling, in all reality, her girl was telling her right. She was like, look, this is a chance of a lifetime. And if you screw this up, not only could you screw up this opportunity, but you could just be out of luck. You could lose your job over this. And she said, you know, most of the time the men overlook us and they don't really take a lot of our suggestions, but we're in the room. And you can't risk throwing that away for some dude that you've had one conversation with. Like, it's crazy. But again, in their mind, they are in love. They have found their soulmate. This is it for them. And so it is worth everything. It is worth it. And the one song that keeps playing at the show is Luther Vandross' Never Too Much, which is actually my favorite Luther Vandross song. Yes, I love A House Is Not a Home. Yes, I love all them other songs. But if somebody would say, what's your favorite Luther Vandross song? Without a doubt, without hesitation, it would be Never Too Much. Don't ask me why. I think it's the first Luther Vandross song I ever heard, to be honest with you. But for some reason, it is my favorite. And so that's been playing. Like, you've heard it 2 or 3 times. And so her and her girlfriend, like I said, they have this really deep heart to heart. And but she said, you know, and Nori sort of says, you're right. Like, you're right. So they're at the show, they're at the taping, But the whole time, you see it in her face. You see she wished that she was anywhere but there. She wants to go. And so she, she says to her friend, she said, look, I gotta go. Like, I have to go. And and her girl tells her again, don't be dumb, don't be stupid, don't do this. And Luther Vandross is playing, and it's the part of the song where it says, I don't want nobody else to ever love me. It's the part about missing work. He said, love is a gamble, and I'm so... No, it's the part before that. Anyway, it's the part about him not going to work to hustle for another dollar. I'd rather be with you because you make my heart scream and holler. That part. And, love is a gamble, and I'm so glad that I'm with... And she's like, listen to the lyrics. She was like, her girlfriend was like, I know you're not about to sit here and think that Luther is singing to you. Like, the DJ just like Luther because he played that song every time. Like, she's like, it is not a sign. But finally, love wins. Her girlfriend is like, all right, look, I'm going to hook you up. And they come up with a system. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. We used to be able to do some great things with beepers. I remember you paid somebody and you put 911 behind the number. That was like, it's an emergency. I remember you had codes. I had codes for people. So they paged me, because remember, you pay somebody, it may not be their phone number. They could be paging you from a payphone. They could be paid. So you put a code behind it. So I remember everybody had a code. Like my boyfriend at the time, his code was 1. And then, my best friend, her code was, I don't remember, but let's just say 2. And then like my brother, his code was 3. So no matter what number they called you from, if they put that code at the end of the number, boom, you knew who it was. All right. It was sort of caller ID before caller ID, right? So her and her girlfriend came up with this slick code. If she paged her and put in the number 3. 3 was Get Your Ass Here by Hook or Crook. Vanessa Bell Calloway plays her friend in the future. Like in not future, but 2018 present day. The same girlfriend that was telling her don't be stuck on stupid. So she was like, yeah, so Vanessa Bell Calloway is in this episode and she's explaining the pager system, and she was like, yeah, because 3 men get your ass here. And she said, Uber wasn't even around back then, but you better invent an Uber and get here. And then something like 2 men call me so we can fake a conversation. And then 1 was, there's good news and bad news, but you don't necessarily have to get here. But I need to tell you something going on. So they faked this whole scene where Nori is like, yeah, I'm going to go back. Since everything seems to be under control here, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the office. I got some stuff I need to finish up at the office. So, and they purposely have this conversation in front of one of the, one of the runners. So that basically if somebody say you seen Nori, she be like, oh yeah, I heard her saying that she was going back to the office. She takes snacks. She puts them on her desk. She turns the light on her desk. And she's actually leaving out. She runs into Coffee Boy. I shouldn't call him that. I think his name was Sean. It's going to be Sean now. And he knows what she's doing. He knows because remember, he had been caught blocking her ass with her messages and not giving her the messages from Yuri, your seer. And he gives her, I couldn't even follow it. He has this long, drawn out statement about the sun aligning and the moon telling him and karma and basically if you cut through the bullshit, basically what he was saying was now I know where you're going and I got a choice to make. And it's funny how, and he even says your future is, your job is in my hands right now. And he's giving her the shit because remember in his mind she dogged him out in his mind. And she's listening to him and everything, and she was like, look, do what you're going to do. She took the coffee out of his hand and was like, this one's mine. And no, you don't have my life in your hands. You have coffee. She was like, do what you're going to do. And she rolls out. Like, basically, either you're going to snitch on me or you're not. But, you're not going to blackmail me into staying here. So she goes running off. Now, a part that I missed, Yuri, Nori, excuse me, got desperate enough to actually call the house because, like I said, she knew that that house number wasn't necessarily on the up and up, but she got desperate enough when she couldn't get in touch with him on his pager and everything to actually call the house. And Ruby answered the phone, and I was like, oh shit, what Ruby gonna do? So she was like, Nori said, may I speak with your seer? And Ruby said, I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. And Nori said, well, is this 555-1212? She said, yes, but your seer doesn't live here anymore. And I would appreciate you not calling this number again. Okay. So then Nori says, no, she says that you can page him. And Nori says, well, his page is cut off. Ruby told her, well, good luck. Don't call him no more. They were very polite to each other, but it was clear that there was a problem. You know what I'm saying? It was clear that the situation with Ruby and Yasir was more than just a roommate situation. Okay, so that's the part that I missed. And I'm talking too long, but it's almost over. So Yasir is standing out in front of the concert hall waiting for Nori to show up. Because again, he was like, he just kept knowing, he just kept having faith. She's going to show up, she's going to show up, she's going to show up. Everybody's going in the concert. He's out there by himself, and it's somebody trying to buy tickets. He's like asking, you can hear him in the background asking, you got an extra ticket? You got an extra ticket? So he finally gets to Yasir. I keep wanting to say Yuri. He got to Yasir and said, do you have an extra ticket? And you finally see the doubt is there. And Yasir is actually probably getting ready to sell the ticket. And then Nori runs up. She was like, you thought I wasn't coming, didn't you? And I want to say he said, no, I knew you would be here, And then they hold hands and they walk in. But honey, let me tell you something. That whole scene, my Maxwell song is playing. That is probably I need this soundtrack in my life, Oprah. Whenever, wherever, if I could sing, I would sing these things, but I can't sing. But they played that, and that song was playing through that whole scene, and it made me remember how old the song was. Because when they started playing, I was like, this song ain't from the 90s. Then I had to check myself and say, fool, yes it is, honey. But yeah, so that's how this episode ended. It's good. I like it. Like I said, I'm not a big proponent of love at first sight and all that, but they might be trying to prove me wrong. But anyway, drop it in the comments. Tell me what y'all think.